President Trump's recent executive order barring transgender athletes from women's sports marks yet another significant step in his administration's ongoing effort to systematically dismantle the rights and protections afforded to transgender individuals. This latest directive is not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of a series of increasingly aggressive and controversial actions aimed at reversing advancements made in LGBTQ+ rights. The order represents a stark departure from previous administrations' approaches to inclusivity and non-discrimination, signaling a marked shift towards a more restrictive and exclusionary policy landscape. The erosion of transgender rights under the Trump administration began almost immediately upon his inauguration. One of his earliest executive actions was a sweeping order mandating a rigid binary definition of sex exclusively male or female-based. This directive, implemented across all federal government documents, including passports and official records, effectively erased the lived realities and identities of transgender individuals, forcing them to conform to a definition that fundamentally contradicts their very existence. This imposition of a binary gender system represents a blatant disregard for the complexities of gender identity and a deliberate effort to invalidate the experiences of transgender Amer. Further escalating the assault on transgender rights, another executive order was issued prohibiting gender-affirming care for individuals under the age of 19. This sweeping prohibition encompasses a wide range of critical medical interventions, including puberty blockers, hormone replacement therapy, HRT, involving estrogen or testosterone, and surgical procedures. These treatments are considered essential components of gender-affirming care and are vital for the physical and mental well-being of transgender youth. By denying access to these life-altering medical interventions, the Trump administration directly undermines the health and safety of vulnerable young transgender individuals, potentially leading to devastating consequences for their physical and psychological development. The rationale behind this ban remains unclear, but it reflects a disturbing trend of prioritizing ideological beliefs over the scientific consensus and the well-being of transgender individuals. Critics have rightly condemned this decision as a blatant violation of medical ethics and a dangerous infringement on the rights of minors. The attack extends beyond direct restrictions on medical care. President Trump has actively sought to overturn and dismantle policies implemented by the previous administration to combat gender discrimination. In a blatant display of disregard for established legal precedents and the principles of equality, an executive order titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government was signed. This order directs the federal government to systematically remove all guidelines, communications, policies, and forms that acknowledge or promote gender identity outside of the strictly binary framework. This directive aims to erase the very existence of transgender identities from the fabric of federal policies and regulations, forcing transgender individuals further into the margins of society. The ramifications of these aggressive policy changes have been immediate and devastating for the transgender community. Hospitals across the nation, responding to the shifting political landscape and fearful of legal repercussions, have ceased providing gender-affirming care to transgender youth. Similarly, prisons have implemented policies that exacerbate the vulnerability of transgender women, often isolating them and threatening transfers to men's facilities upon the denial of access to essential medical treatments. These actions demonstrate the real-world consequences of politically motivated attacks on fundamental human rights. The cumulative effect of these executive orders has created a climate of fear and uncertainty for transgender individuals, undermining their safety, well-being, and access to essential health care. The long-term consequences of these policies on the physical and mental health of the transgender community are deeply concerning and warrant immediate attention and action. This systematic dismantling of transgender rights represents a significant setback for the progress made in achieving equality and inclusivity, and raises serious concerns about the future of LGBTQ+ rights in the United States.